Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Great to be with you. My name is Matt Stoudt. I'm the youth pastor here at Blue Root Vineyard. It's great to be with you on this amazing last snowfall of 2017. I hope you all enjoyed your, once again, Saturday snow day. I was just talking to a couple students this morning. They were like, man, why does it always snow on Saturday? This is terrible, especially on a break. But hey, I just want to say welcome if you are a guest with us today. We're so excited that you're with us. Maybe you joined us for one of our Christmas Eve services and decided to come back and check us out. We're so glad that you're here tonight. Thanks so much for being with us. I think that tonight is a night of hope. I think tonight is a night of reflection, a night of inspiration, and a night of anticipation. And so I want to look at a story. I want to look at a story from the Old Testament. I want to look at a story from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 6. It starts like this. Now when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had built the wall and that there was no breach left in it, although up to that time I had not set up the doors in the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, come and let us meet together at Hakephirim in the plain of Ono. But they intended to do me harm. And I sent messengers to them, saying, I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? And they sent to me 4 times in this way, and I answered them in the same manner. In the same way, Sanballat for the 5th time sent his servant to me with an open letter in his hand. In it was written, it is reported among the nations, and Geshem also says it, that you and the Jews intend to rebel, that this is why you are building the wall. And according to these reports, you wish to become their king. And you have also set up prophets to proclaim concerning you in Jerusalem, there is a king in Judah, and now the king will hear of these reports. So now come, and let us take counsel together. Then I sent to him, saying, no such things as you say have been done, for you are inventing them out of your own mind. For they all wanted to frighten us, thinking, their hands will drop from the work, and it will not be done. But now, O God, strengthen my hands. Now when I went into the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of Mehetabel, who was confined to his home, he said, let us meet together in the house of God, within the temple. Let us close the doors of the temple, for they are coming to kill you. They are coming to kill you by night. But I said, should such a man as I run away? And what man such as I could go into the temple and live? I will not go in. And I understood and saw that God had not sent him, but he had pronounced the prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. For this purpose he was hired, that I should be afraid and act in this way and sin. And so they could give me a bad name in order to taunt me. Remember Tobiah and Sanballat, oh my God, according to these things that they did, and also the prophetess Nadiah, and the rest of the prophets who wanted to make me afraid. So the wall was finished on the 25th day in the month of Elul, in 52 days. And when all our enemies heard of it, all the nations around us were afraid and fell greatly in their own esteem, for they perceived that this work had been accomplished with the help of our God. Would you pray with me? God, we come to you here at the end of a year, the end of a year so full of so many things. God, looking back, it's amazing in so many different ways. And God, we thank you for it, we praise you for it, and we look towards the future. And we ask that in these moments you would speak to us, that you would teach our hearts, that you would encourage us, and that you would strengthen us for the year ahead, that you would give us hope, that you give us joy, that you give us ability to see your kingdom coming and your will being done, and to know your presence with us. And it's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. Well, hey, I just want to say hello to our friends at, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I want to say hello to our friends over at the Morton campus. I love you guys. It's awesome to be working with you. I love being over on Yale Avenue a couple times a month now. It's great to see a whole nother room of people gathering and worshiping and studying the Word together, and it's great to see what we're building. We would ask that you would continue to pray for the future of our Morton campus and future of our multi-site efforts around the Delaware Valley. We want to see more churches and more healthy communities for folks to worship and to grow and to reach their neighbors together. And so, Morton, thank you for being part of that. It's amazing to be in this work with you. If you're joining us on our podcast or online, it's great to be with you as well. I want to just welcome you one more time to National Youth Pastor Gets to Preach Weekend. I was seeing a whole bunch of my colleagues just buzzing around on Facebook and on Instagram this week about preaching this weekend, and so here I am. But I do want to say thank you to Mark, our lead pastor, to the rest of the pastors and leadership here at the church. This is a special weekend for me. Monday, January 1st will be 3 years that I've been on the staff team here at Blue Root Vineyard, and it's been an amazing 3 years. It's been really fun. It feels like a lot longer than 3 years, but in all the best ways possible. I feel at home here and feel like we are building something amazing together. Thinking about what we're doing specifically with our youth ministry is so exciting to see where we were 3 years ago and to see where we are today. Gives me a lot of hope for the future. Gives me a lot of energy and a lot of drive to see this thing happen and to partner with God in this great work. And so thank you for your support in that. It takes a church, it takes a village to do this thing. And I'm glad to be in it with you. I'm also excited about the connections that I've been able to make throughout the larger vineyard, this movement of churches, this network of churches that we're a part of. It's great to connect with folks from around our region and from around the country. I did want to just share with you something that's exciting to me. The last couple weeks, I was asked to join our regional team alongside of my work here at Blue Root, leading our region as our regional youth leader. So helping support youth ministry in churches in the vineyard between Delaware and Maine, and really helping see our culture and our major events and bringing some leadership and some oversight to the things that we're doing for students throughout our region. And so it's exciting to be a part of that and to be a part of that with you as a church. And so I just want to say that's exciting me. It's going to give me a chance to explore some of the things that I feel like I'm kind of made for and wired for. And it also will give me a chance to just get an inside look at what other people are doing in youth ministry, bring the best of that back here to Blue Root Vineyard, and also get a chance to see some other churches, some youth ministries, and kind of just tour our region a little bit. And if any of you know my Instagram or my social media, you know that I'll be trying out all of the regional cuisine as well, and trying out the local flavors. I do love traveling. I love being all over. You never know where I'm going to show up. My mom texts me from time to time. She's like, "What state are you in today?" Right? And she just never knows where I'm going to pop up. Well, one of the places that I've been more recently is in North Carolina, in Durham, North Carolina. And I want to show you one of the things that's kind of a landmark at Duke University. The Duke University Chapel is right in the center of campus. It's an amazing building. It's 210 feet tall. There's a picture of the inside there. It's just massive, this cavernous kind of interior. And let me tell you, while it is not necessarily doesn't fill your belly, it fills your soul. Just being inside this place, it's literally like a feast for the eyes. And to just sit there and just see people touring this building and touring this amazing work of architecture is just a lot of fun. And so I was sitting there and I was wondering how long did it take to build this thing? First of all, I didn't really know how old it was, and then I didn't know how long it took to build. So I started doing a little bit of research and kind of wanting to know how long did it take to construct this thing? Did it take centuries? Did it get done in a couple months? How long? So it was constructed in 1930 to 1932. It took 2 years to build this amazing building that sits right at the center of campus, and it was actually constructed by a Philadelphia architecture firm, a Philadelphia firm by the name of Horace Trumbauer. And you might be familiar with some of the other buildings around the Philadelphia area. And so if you can't make it all the way to Duke, you could also see some buildings similar to this in our area. It was just fascinating to me to look at to read some of the history of the process of how long it took to buy a quarry nearby so that they could use local resources to build this facility. It's pretty impressive. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about the building process. I'm thinking about how long it's taken to construct this chapel, or really this cathedral. And then I started thinking about, well, where does it talk about in the scriptures? Where in the Bible does it talk about building and constructing things and architecture? And I thought of, and I remembered and recalled the story of Nehemiah. And Nehemiah, let me just give you kind of the brief story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the cupbearer to Artaxerxes. He's the king, the emperor, kind of the big dog at the time. There's in 444 BC, so we're before the Advent story, before the story of Jesus, and we're just a couple years before all the prophets go silent. We're just a couple years before there's a 400-year gap in the voice of God before the arrival of Jesus. And so we're like right at the cusp of like history. And Nehemiah was the cupbearer to the king. Nehemiah was the man who would like take like the servants, the chefs, the people preparing the meal would bring it to him, and he would like taste it. He would taste the meal, he would taste the wine to make sure that nobody had poisoned it, to make sure that the king wasn't going to fall over dead from the meal he was about to eat. And if you know anything, if you like are sharing a meal, it's not like sitting across the table from somebody, but literally sharing, like, here, I'll take a sip, you take a sip, that kind of thing, right? Like, it's a very like communal, a very interactive, like you get to know somebody when you're like literally sharing a meal, right? And so Nehemiah is known to the king. He's a friend of the king. He's called a trusted, like a confidant of the king. He had conversations with the emperor about everything that was going on. And there's a day where Nehemiah comes in to Artaxerxes, and he's just like, the king can tell that there's something wrong, something on his mind, something that's like deeply troubling him. And he just asks him, Nehemiah, you've always come in here with a smile. You have always come in here, your spirits are bright, you're bouncing off the walls, and today you are like, there is a black cloud over you. What's going on, man? And so he asked me, and Nehemiah talks about, he's like, it's reached him, the news that his home city of Jerusalem is in ruins. It's reached him that the gates are destroyed, the wall is demolished, that there is no protection to the city, no pride around the city, and it's really just an open wasteland for anyone and anything to just come through, do their business, and be on their way. And so all the neighboring royalties, all the neighboring kings are just riding in and out and devastating everything, taking what they want, abusing the people, and just having their way. And so Nehemiah is distressed over this. He's broken over this, and he says to the king, here's what I want to do. If it pleases you, I want to go. I want to go, and I want to work to rebuild my city. I want to rebuild the wall, want to rebuild the ruins, bring the ruins to life in my city. And the king, and with his confidence in Nehemiah, doesn't just say, hey, go ahead and do that. He says, you know what? I'm going to make you like the governor. I'm going to make you like the mayor of Jerusalem. Like, it's your city now, okay? So go and do it. You take, you know what? I'll send supplies and lumber with you. I'll write letters so you have safe passage through all the places that you need to travel to get the different supplies and to get the resources that you need. I'll send my army officers with you and my chariots with you to protect you as you go on this journey. But don't stay too long. Like, don't stay away. Like, we're friends here, so I want you to come back. Go do the thing that you need to do because it's obviously broken your heart, but then come back to me. And so Nehemiah goes to Jerusalem, and he walks around by day and by night. He takes like a whole like day, night without talking to anybody, just to soak it all in. And he's just walking around, looking at the wall that's broken, looking at the gates that have no doors. And he's just taking the whole thing in. And then he goes to work. Then he rallies the people and inspires them and tells them of what he believes the Lord wants to do. And he goes to work. And he goes to work, but that doesn't make all the other neighboring warlords who are enjoying kind of this like neutral space that they can just control, does not make them happy. You hear these names of Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem. Like, these are guys who are like strong players in the region, and they are not happy that someone else is rising up. They are not happy that Jerusalem is under repair. And so they try to distract him. They try to come at Nehemiah and take him away from the work that he's doing. You can see multiple times they ask him, like, come meet with us. Come have a conference with us. Come on vacation with us. Come sit down and have a nice meal. We'll enjoy all the finest things in the world together. We'll spend some time. We would like to get to know you, Nehemiah. We don't even know who you are. Just come be with us. They just keep begging him to come see them, and he sees right through it. He sees through it that actually they want to kill him. Actually, they are not happy at all that he is around. They're not happy that he's alive, and they intend to do something about it. And so Nehemiah, he navigates this. He withstands this storm, and he sets himself. He really drills down on the tasks that he's doing, and he gives himself fully to it. You know, I love that line of just like, I'm doing a great work, and I can't come down. Yeah. We'll get into that in a minute. We also see that Nehemiah is betrayed by a friend who wants him to, as it says, commit a sin, who wants him to sin against God to save himself. And so he navigates that as well, and yet he rebuilds the wall. 52 days later, the wall is rebuilt. The city is strong. The city has pride. The people are celebrating. There's a bright and beautiful future for the city of Jerusalem. The amazing thing to me here is that while this is a true story in the scriptures, there is no miracle here, right? The wall doesn't just magically appear. It doesn't one day there was 100 feet of the wall that the Lord just put together, right? Like this is just like hard work, determination, faithfulness, and the blessing of God and the favor of God as he works. And so you might be asking me, Matt, why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about like buildings, and why are you talking about cathedrals? Why are you talking about walls and bricks and mortar and all this kind of crazy stuff? Because, friends, I believe that we are at an opportune moment tonight. I believe that we're at a moment where we are looking back at 2017 and all that it had and all that it held, and we're looking forward at a new year, and we are at a moment where we're making decisions. We're at a moment where we're deciding some big things in our lives. And they might seem big, they might seem small, but we're making decisions. We're on the threshold of a new year. I don't know what 2017 had for you. I don't know if it was full of like incredible joy or crushing loss or something in between. But whatever it was, I know one thing. I know that we are all this weekend thinking about 2018. What is the year in front of us going to look like in comparison to the year behind us? We're all making lists. We're sitting down with the best of our intentions. We're writing all the things that we're going to accomplish, the things that we're going to do. Some people call them New Year's resolutions. Some of those New Year's resolutions, according to NBC, here's just kind of the top ones that people, and they're probably not unfamiliar to a room like this, right? But 1, to get healthy. 2, to get organized. 3, to live life to the fullest. 4, to learn new hobbies. 5, to spend less or to save more. 6, to travel more. And 7, to read more. Those are some of the things that people are thinking about. You probably are thinking about your life and what it is for you that this year might look like. Regardless of what your resolutions are, I know this one thing. I know that they're hard. I know that they don't just happen overnight. I know that they don't just fall into place. I know that we're going to sit down, we're going to write out all these things that we intend to do for 12 solid months, and we might stick to them for like 12 solid days or like 12 minutes maybe. What if we, friends, took that whole list and we just boiled it down to like one thing? Like what if we boiled it down to one thing that this year was about for you and for me? They'll be different. Mine's going to be different than yours. That's okay. But what if we boiled it down to one thing? What if we dialed in on that one thing? What if it's that it is for you? What if it's to get healthy this year? What if it is to manage your appetite? Maybe it's to manage your appetite like physically. Maybe it's to manage your appetite in the things that you entertain yourself with, or the things that you desire, or the conversations that you get intrigued by. Maybe it's like to really dial down on your spending and your savings and kind of your whole financial picture. Maybe it's a relationship that you need to repair or one that you just need to end. Maybe it's a habit that you know you've got to break this year. Maybe this is the year that you stop lying. Maybe this is the year that you stop telling everybody that you're way better than yourself than you really are. Maybe this is the year that you stop contributing to gossip. Maybe this is the year that you decide that you're not going to be at the center of every dramatic scene. Maybe this is the year where you decide that you're going to just be at peace. Maybe for you, this is the year where you're going to start reading the Bible on a more regular basis, or share your faith with someone, or just give yourself to an act of kindness to a stranger. Maybe this is the year where you're going to consider faith in Jesus for the very first time. I don't know what this year is for you, but I do know that regardless of what it is you're thinking about right now, I do know this. I know that it's hard. I know it's not easy. I know that it's wildly difficult. These are monumental tasks that we're trying to set ourselves to, but I know this, and I'm convinced of this, that 2018 is meant to be a monumental year. A year that is involved with beauty and hope and new beginnings, and that takes some hard work. That takes some hard things. And the book of Romans, actually, one of my favorites, talks about hard things. It says like this. Romans 5 says, "We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not disappoint us." And so I just want to take a look for just a couple minutes at this story, the story of Nehemiah, and find those three things: find perseverance, find character, find hope. And then I want to look at our stories today as kind of this brick in the wall of the city or the cathedral or the story that you are writing and that you are building with God's help. I want to look at these kinds of things tonight for just a couple minutes. And so perseverance. Perseverance looks like this. Sanballat and Geshem sent to me saying, "Come and let us meet together at Hecaphrim in the plain of Ono." But they intended to do me harm. And I sent messengers to them saying, "I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you?" And they sent to me 4 times in this way, and I answered them in the same manner. They keep asking him, and he keeps giving them the same reply. What's the reply? The reply is this: "I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. I am doing an amazing thing. I am sold out to this thing. I have laser focus. I am not letting anything else distract me. I'm giving myself to this perseverance." There's distractions that are going to come along this year, friends. There are things that are going to seem really nice that are going to come along this year that are totally off track of what God has for you. There are things this year that are going to come to you and say, "Well, just come and sit with us for a couple minutes. Come and enjoy something. Take a break. Take a break. You don't have to work so hard. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down." I think about in this whole conversation of construction and buildings and cathedrals, I think about another cathedral that I've had the opportunity to tour, and is amazing, right? And this is the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. Constructed in 1163 to 1345. It's 226 feet tall. And so it's one of the landmarks of Europe, right? Almost 200 years this took to build. Okay, so 2 years, this cathedral in North Carolina gets built. 200 years, this one in Paris takes to build. Do you know how many lead architects that had to have taken? Right, that's more than somebody's lifetime. So that means it has to have an incredible vision. That means it has to have a lot of purpose. That means it has to have a plan that says, this is where we're going. This is how it's going to be when we're done. And you hand it off and you keep going. Right? Almost 200 years. Do you think that maybe there's something God is doing in your life and through your life that's going to last beyond your lifetime? Do you think that maybe, just maybe, the things that God is calling you to today, that one word, that one thing that you're going to give yourself to this year might have ripples that last out into the generations to come? What could that be like? What could that look like? Perseverance, I also think about this. You've heard from me before that I love the work that I get to do with our students. You also have heard from me that I love the work that I get to do with the local fire department, right? And I love helping the community and love being part of the action and doing some of the work one of the things that is like the most amazing things to me that like is kind of crazy, but like when somebody's in a vehicle accident and there's somebody like stuck, like trapped in a car, right? Using the hydraulic and the electronic tools, using the jaws of life to like cut them out is like one of the most like amazing, like you feel like awesome when you do it, like, and when it works, you feel really bad when it doesn't, but when it does work, you're like, man, we did it, man. That like your high fives all around, right? But there's a moment, let me tell you, when you're learning how to do this and it gets you like, you can have opened up like 1,000 cars, and there's a moment every time where you're there, you've got the tool in the door, you've got the button turned, and like things are starting to move, and then it stops. And you're just waiting, and you're like, man, I don't know if this is going to budge. You think the whole thing has come to a complete stop. And then it starts to crack, it starts to pop, and the whole thing goes. There's a moment where you are worried, where you are thinking, you can have cut hundreds of cars, and you're like, man, I don't know if this is going to work this time. And you stay on it, you don't let off, because if you let off, you got to pull out and reset the whole thing. But if you stay on it, if you stay faithful to it, if you persevere, it works. It works a lot. It works a lot of times, more often than not, actually. I just think about that in the terms of like, there are many times in my life where I want to give up. There's many times where I want to take a break. There's many times where I'm like, this is hard. I don't want to keep doing this. I just need to rest. I need to take care of my soul. And God's saying, no, dude, keep at it. Faithfulness, one of the fruits of the Spirit, right? One of the things that God gives to us as a gift, one of the things that God does through us, one of the things that he expresses to us and to the world through his Spirit. Listen, if perseverance is a struggle for you, like ask God to help you, because he will. But perseverance is important because perseverance produces character. In the same way, Sanballat, for the 5th time, sent his servant to me with an open letter in his hand. It was written, it's reported among the nations, and Geshem also says it, that you and the Jews intend to rebel. That's why you're building the wall, isn't it? And according to these reports, you wish to become their king. And you've also set up prophets to proclaim concerning you in Jerusalem, there's a king in Judah. And now the king, your friend, Artaxerxes, who sent you, he's going to hear these reports. So now come and let us take counsel together. You don't want us to tell on you? Okay, well then come see us. Then I sent to him, saying, no such things as you say have been done, for you are inventing them out of your own mind. For they all wanted to frighten us, thinking their hands will drop from the work and it won't be done. But now, O God, strengthen my hands. Like they're trying to use like the power of gossip, trying to use peer pressure, trying to like play these mind games with Nehemiah and saying like, oh, your friend the king who made you the ruler of this region, right? He's gonna take the whole thing away from you. He's gonna send his whole army to get you because we're telling him, we're gonna just let him know that you're planning to rebel against him. Like they're trying to play these mind games with him. What kind of character does it take to stand up against gossip? What kind of character does it take to like keep your composure, to speak truth, to like not get flustered, not get worried, and not to buy into the peer pressure, not to fall suspect, and not to fall like prey to gossip? Like what kind of person, what kind of character does it take to stay out of like playing mind games and manipulation and all that kinds of crazy drama, right? You might know people in your life, I definitely know people in my life who are like that, who will say those kinds of things to get you to do the things that they want. And Nehemiah says, listen, that's not how it is. I'm not playing ball. That's not how this is. And he stays focused. He stays true to what he's doing. He doesn't choose to like just come and try to convince them that that's not what he's doing. He says, no, you cannot distract me in that way. He has character. Character is one of the kinds of things that we're trying to develop as we grow, as we give ourselves to discipleship. We want to have Christ-like character. And so my prayer for you this year is that your perseverance would produce character, that who you are would stand up under pressure. You know, there's this next part with a bunch of names where his friend Shemaiah, says, like, let's meet together in the house of God. You can find asylum. You can find safety in the temple. Come over here to the temple because they're going to try and kill you tonight in your sleep. So why don't you just come over here? They can't. This is like a zone where they can't attack you, where they have to give you a fair trial. Like, just come and hide out here. And there's all kinds of history wrapped up in this, and more than we have time for tonight, but there's all kinds of like stuff with religion and the law and history that's wrapped up here. But when it comes to character, what kind of character does it take to say, I'm not going to hide out in the church anymore? What kind of character does it say, I'm doing work that God has assigned to me, that God has called me to, that God has asked of me, and it's not just enough for me to just be comfortable inside the walls of the house of God. It's not enough for me to like just run away from the world at large, run away from hard things, and just escape to the church. Now listen, we want this place, we want the church to be a place of comfort, of hope, of encouragement, where you can get recentered, where you can find God, where God can speak to you about the things in your life. But this, friends, is not the extent, this is not the fullness of your faith journey. Like, this is not where like where your Christianity, where you're following Jesus is like made to its fullness. This is where it starts, and then we take it to the streets. We take it to work. And it takes character to be the kinds of people who say, no, we're going to take this story of Jesus, we're going to take the love of God, the grace of God, the peace of God, the laser focus and dedication and the work of God to the world around us. And so I want to invite you this year, 2018, friends, to be the kind of people who have the character to take Jesus outside the church. And then character produces hope. So the wall was finished on the 25th day of the month of Elul in 52 days. 52 days, the wall around the city was rebuilt, and when all our enemies heard of it, all the nations around us were afraid and fell greatly in their own esteem. They started thinking they weren't all that, right? For they perceived that this work had been accomplished with the help of our God. How else could they have managed this? How could they have pulled this off if it wasn't for the Lord God Almighty? There's great hope in this, because if God has been faithful before, we can be confident that He will be faithful again. And so what does that look like in your life? What does that look like in my life? I'm the kind of person who needs some hope. I would guess that probably you are too. Like, hope just fuels the soul, right? And gives us the ability, like that whole, like if you think about that phrase, sometimes it's like hope for today, hope for tomorrow, right? There is like that need of to grab hold of hope and step into it. What is it that you are hoping for? What is it that you have set your sights on as like the hope for your life? Well, friends, I hope there's amazing things. My desire for you is that there would be things in your life that you're looking forward to. But there's this passage in Scripture that just stirs me at my core. And anyone who has given their life to Jesus and is given to following in the way of Christ, I think this might stir you. It's from Revelation 21. It says, I heard a loud voice from the throne of heaven, saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and He will dwell with them. They will be His people, and God Himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And He who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. Man, if you look around you, if you look around me, right, if you just look at just 2017, right, and not just the little snapshot that your social media gives you that 60-second year in review and it's all smiles and balloons, right? But if you actually look at this year, man, it's been a mess, right? If you look at 2017, there has been so much that has been heartbreaking. There's so much that's been painful. It's enough to lay you out. But there's more. There's more. There's a hope that's coming. There's a hope that's come, and we celebrated that this past week through the story of Jesus, the birth of the Christ child, the gift of Emmanuel, God with us, who broke into our world to walk this out with us by the power of His Spirit as we wait for His return and for all things to be made new. There is hope. There is great hope for those who have given themselves to Jesus. There's amazing hope, and hope comes from character. Character comes from perseverance. And so Jeremiah's hope was in the rebuilding and in the future that God had for his city and for his people. Your hope, my hope, is quite much the same. In the hope in the God who is building an amazing thing, doing an amazing work through your life, through mine, who is building his kingdom quite literally through you and through me. This year is a monumental year, friends. This year is a building block in the wall that God is building for his kingdom through your life story. And so what's that going to look like? What's that actually going to be? So here's a couple things that we could try this week. One, consider partnering with our Nehemiah Fund. It's no mistake that we've called this thing the Nehemiah Fund that helps us multiply healthy church communities here around the Philadelphia area. We want to build together, and we want to invite you to be a part of it. Like Mark said earlier, this is an opportunity to partner with us, to build, to grow, and to get in those end of the year tax contributions as well. One of the next things that I would encourage you to try is to read the story of Nehemiah for yourself or with your family. When's the last time you, yourself, or you and your family sat down and read a passage of Scripture, a story from Scripture together? And if you're an overachiever, then you can get a head start on Ezekiel for our next series that's coming up. And then here's where we're going to land for tonight. And this is going to be a little bit more interactive, and so just brace yourselves for it. If you totally love this, this is just the creativity of how youth pastors, we are all about the tactile response. And if you hate it, well, there's 5 other pastors on staff who could be your favorite. Okay? Morton, you guys get to be a part of this as well. I'm going to encourage you to ask yourself, what is your great work for 2018? I'm going to encourage you tonight to boil it down to one word. Today to say, here is the thing that 2018 is for. And so we're going to take a minute and we're going to listen for God. We're going to actually ask the Spirit of God to give us one word for your life, for my life. Here it is. Here's 2018. And then to put it in writing and to ask God to help you. And so here's how this is going to work. We've got a couple tables up here at the front. Morton, you have a table at the front of your room as well. They have some little cards here that we've just made up for you that have just a picture of a brick in a wall. And it just has that verse, I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. And so I'm going to encourage you, as the worship teams come back up and help us through this time, to think about what is that one word, and then to actually have the boldness and the courage, the perseverance to write it down, to write in that brick, here it is, here's the one thing for this year, and then to get prayer for it. We're going to have prayer folks on both sides of the room, and we're going to, I would love to see every person who has one of these cards just get prayer for it. Somebody to encourage you, somebody to seek God with you as you step into this new year of hope, this new year of perseverance, this new year of character. It's going to be an amazing year, friends. 2018 is going to be like none we've seen before, but it's going to take some work, and I'm going to encourage you to start to do it today. And so why don't we stand together?